The year for 76 AD is often taught as a simple ending, a clean line drawn across history to mark the fall of the Roman Empire. In classrooms, it is reduced to a date, a name, and a moment when the last Roman emperor of the West was removed from power. But history is never that neat. The fall of Rome was not a sudden collapse caused by one invasion or one weak ruler. It was the result of slow decay, unexpected decisions, and forces most people never learn about. By the time 476 arrived, the empire was already a shadow of itself, surviving more on memory than strength. In that year, a teenage emperor named Romulus Augustulus sat on the throne of the Western Roman Empire. He was not a warrior, not a strategist, and not even a true ruler. Real power rested in the hands of generals and warlords who controlled armies made up largely of non-Roman soldiers. Romulus was placed on the throne by his father, a military commander named Orest, and removed just as easily when the political winds shifted. His fall did not shock the world, because by then, Rome had already lost the authority it once commanded. The man who ended Romulus's reign was Odoacer, a Germanic military leader commanding troops that Rome itself had hired. This is one of the great ironies rarely explained in school. Rome did not fall because barbarians stormed the gates in a dramatic final battle. Rome fell because it relied on foreign soldiers to defend itself and could no longer afford or control them. When Odoacer demanded land and payment for his troops and was refused, he simply removed the emperor. There was no great resistance, no heroic last stand. The empire ended quietly, almost unnoticed. Even more surprising is what happened next. Odoacer did not declare himself emperor. Instead, he sent the imperial insignia to the Eastern Roman Emperor in Constantinople and ruled Italy as a king in name, but under Roman administrative traditions. Too many people living at the time, the empire did not feel as though it had fallen at all. Roman laws continued. Roman taxes were collected. Roman cities still stood. Life went on, just under new management. The real story of Rome's fall begins centuries earlier. Long before 476 AD, the empire was struggling with internal problems that slowly weakened its foundation. Political instability was constant, with emperors rising and falling through assassinations, civil wars, and military coups. Loyalty shifted from the state to individual generals, making the army a political weapon rather than a protector of the empire. Corruption drained resources, while bureaucracy grew heavier and less efficient. Economic collapse played a critical role. Rome's economy depended on conquest, slavery, and constant expansion. When expansion stopped, the system began to break. Taxes increased, currency lost value, and trade declined. Farmers abandoned their land to escape taxation. Cities shrank, and the gap between the rich elite and the poor widened dramatically. The empire was still vast, but it was hollow from the inside. Another factor rarely emphasized is how Rome changed its own identity. In an attempt to survive, the empire integrated large numbers of non-Roman peoples into its military and administration. These groups were not inherently destructive. Many served Rome loyally, but the system that managed them was failing. Commanders were chosen for loyalty rather than competence, and soldiers often felt more connected to their ethnic leaders than to Rome itself. The empire became dependent on forces it no longer fully controlled. Meanwhile, the Eastern Roman Empire was thriving. Centered in Constantinople, it had stronger defenses, a healthier economy, and better leadership. When the Western Empire collapsed, the East did not rush to save it. From their perspective, the West was expensive, unstable, and strategically less important. The idea that Rome fell in 476 ignores the fact that Roman power continued in the East for nearly 1,000 more years as the Byzantine Empire. What makes 476 AD so fascinating is not the drama, but the silence. There were no massive celebrations or universal panic. No one at the time believed they were witnessing the end of an era. Later, historians chose the date because it symbolized a transition, not because it felt like an apocalypse. Rome did not collapse overnight. It slowly transformed into something else. The fall of the Western Roman Empire was not caused by a single enemy, but by adaptation without stability. Rome survived for centuries by changing But eventually, those changes weakened the very systems that once made it powerful. It outsourced its defense, diluted its authority, and lost the unity that had held it together. By 476 AD, the empire no longer needed to be conquered. It simply needed to be replaced. Perhaps the most uncomfortable lesson is how familiar this story feels. Rome did not fall because it was attacked from the outside alone. It fell because internal divisions, economic strain, and political short-sightedness made it vulnerable. The empire believed itself eternal, yet it failed to recognize how fragile its foundations had become. 476 AD was not the end of Rome in a dramatic sense. It was the moment the illusion finally broke. The world did not collapse, but it changed direction. From that quiet shift emerged medieval Europe, new kingdoms, and a different kind of civilization. The Roman Empire did not disappear in flames. It faded, leaving behind ruins, laws, languages, and warnings for every powerful society that followed.